Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Fireside Creators. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Sherry Pallas. This week's show is on how to support the LGBTQ plus community, and we have an absolute amazing panel. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe. If you are on Facebook, register with StreamYard so we can see your name when you comment or question. Otherwise, you will just be an anonymous Facebook user, and if that's what you want, that's okay too. Please keep all comments and questions related to the show topic, and remember, this is a safe space. I want to give a shout out to our top sponsors. Ruth, Ray, Michelle, Kirsten, Heidi, you guys rock, and your continued support of this show keeps us going. If you would consider supporting the show, you can go to Patreon at Fireside Creators, Cafe Press at Sherry Pallas. In fact, I've got some really cool shirts up there. One of the favorite ones recently is Fuck the Patriarchy. But it's in asterisk, so it's not offensive to everybody, but you can get everything you want there, and that helps support the show also. But most importantly, thank you for watching, because you have invited us into your living rooms this evening. We are here talking, and we're not talking to ourselves. Okay, so enough of the housekeeping. Let's bring on our panel. First, we have Liz Dyer. She is a writer, speaker, activist, and founder of the Real Mama Bears, an organization dedicated to supporting and empowering families, typo there, with LGBTQ plus members. In addition to hosting the largest private Facebook group for moms of LGBTQ plus, LGBTQ plus kids with more than 34,000 members, Real Mama Bears has 60 Mama Bear chapters, 80 more private groups, and 7 programs that serve the LGBTQ community. Liz is married, has 2 sons, and lives in Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome, Liz. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. Next, we have Sara Cunningham. She is the founder of Free Mom Hugs. Her journey began when her son Parker came out as gay. As a woman of faith, she found herself on a journey from the church to the Pride Parade, and from that experience, Free Moms began. Sara has been featured on the Today Show, the GLAAD Awards, Washington Post, and People magazine. Jamie Lee Curtis purchased the rights to her book, How We Sleep at Night, and will release a movie based on her story. Director Darisha Kai, just met her and I can't even pronounce her last name. Sorry, Darisha. Sara and Free Mom Hugs movement in a documentary called Mama Bears, and that movie is amazing. Welcome, Sara.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us here.
Thanks so much for being here. And last but definitely not least, we have Claire. Where is Claire? There we go. Claire Ellison's passion is helping others and is dedicated to the LGBTQ plus community. Claire founded the not-for-profit Project No Labels, an organization uniting the LGBTQ plus community with straight allies through positive activities and events while promoting volunteerism and activism. In January 2020, in a partnership with Cypress Wellness Center, Project No Labels launched a program called Dear Self, You Are Worth It, that provides high quality, low cost, no insurance or pre-qualifications, LGBTQ plus friendly and inclusive mental health therapy sessions. Over 2,500 sessions have been provided, and this year's goal is 3,000. Welcome, Claire.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
I am so glad that you are all here and that we get to hopefully change some lives today and make things better. Hello, Bells Gamer, and hello, David. Yes, I saw that. We need another subscriber into the Facebook group. But First, I want to thank Liz and Sarah for the movie premiere that I attended on Friday. It was such an honor to be there, to meet everybody that was in the movie, to support you guys. And I didn't even last 30 seconds before I started crying into the movie. It wasted the whole hour I took to get ready because I was a hot mess.
I know. I was sitting right next to you. I said, "Girl, you got to get us together."
I know.
No, it was great having you there. It was really wonderful to sit next to you and just see your reaction, and it really meant a lot to have you there. Thank you.
It was
Yes,
so
thanks
awesome.
so much for coming. We're so proud of the film.
Oh, it's so good.
It is getting great reviews and reactions. Dorisha Kai, the director and producer that you mentioned, is so talented, and she's just done such a wonderful job of getting the Mama Bear stories told in just a really sensitive and compassionate way. And I mean, these moms that are in the group, they've had to be vulnerable, and so you want somebody who handles their stories with tenderness and understanding, and Dorisha does that, and it's just beautiful.
The story of Kai, who is a transgender child, was so moving. I don't know whether or not to call her Esther or Kai, but her mom kept calling her Kai. So, I mean, I've been telling that story, and it's just so profound. I would challenge anyone to see that story and say that this, the LGBTQ plus community is a choice. So I definitely wanted to touch on the movie, and everybody's got to see it. Join Mama Bears, go to the documentary, do all that stuff. We'll be sending links later on in the show. But I also don't want to exclude Claire, who is changing lives throughout the Tampa Bay area. I got to meet her when I was in Tampa. And she is also changing lives across. So welcome, Claire. I'm so glad to have you here too.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm definitely excited to know about that movie, so I'm looking forward to watching that.
Oh, it's good. Grab the tissue.
And
I'm really
Claire,
not, I'm a
Claire-
sap, but I'm not that, 30 seconds, seriously.
Absolutely. And I'd love to share it with our followers as well.
Yeah, and Claire, thank you. I mean, you're doing life-saving work. It's so important. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both as well. And thank you, Sherry.
So, okay, so let's get into this. How can we better support the LGBTQ community? And you are all doing your part, but I want to educate our audience in what they can do. I've started with big topics, and unfortunately, because I entered the wrong room before the show, I didn't get to go over these with you guys. Totally my fault. But let's start with the biggest one. Religion is, I say ironically because it's not supposed to be, but that seems to be the biggest driver against hate in the LGBT community. So I wanted to start there because not only is homosexuality being an abomination a fallacy, it is also a misinterpretation, and it's driving a lot of God-fueled hate. Liz, let's start with you. How can we address the religions and try and stop some of this and add more support?
Well, like you said, I mean, I do think that the homophobia and transphobia, and I don't use those terms in a hateful way. I just use them in a informative way that, represents any kind of discomfort or disgust about LGBTQ people. But homophobia and transphobia live on the back of misinformation and misunderstanding.
Yes.
And so it's really important that we clear that up. But I want to say this. We can always find a Bible verse, a church, a group of people, a book that agrees with our position, no matter what it is. Whether it's we think it's completely wrong and a choice, or we think it's, people can't help it, but they have to live as celibates, or we completely affirm and celebrate the LGBTQ community. We can always find scripture and churches and leaders and books and communities of people to support us. But here's what changed my mind, Sherry. You cannot manipulate the fruit of what a theology produces. And if our theology is consistently producing self-loathing, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, self-harm, isolation, then we have to re-examine our theology. We have to assume we have something wrong. So what I say is the fruit doesn't lie.
I like that. I like that. Claire, do you have any insights as to how we can change things with religion to be more accepting and loving, kind of like 2,000 years ago that Jesus said?
Right. I definitely have been through, pride events and different protests where we've seen, the the other side of people saying, homo homo homosexuality is a sin, and they get really nasty, and they don't really care if their kids involved, or it doesn't matter to them. And they'll have their speaker and their megaphones, and they'll try to drown you out. But I've also been on the other side where I've worked with, um, and have been at like churches, especially in St. Petersburg. We've got MCC
Mm-hmm.
and unity churches where it's completely embraced to be who you are, LGBTQ plus friendly. And the pastors there are LGBTQ plus, and so I think it's like finding your tribe and finding the people that you fit in with, and just ignoring the ones that are telling you that it's a sin and things like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's key because if your church says they're accepting but they're not affirming, if your church is trying to say that a certain sect of people are automatically doomed to hell, it's time to leave that church, or work to correct those beliefs and really become an ally, because the LGBTQ community are our neighbors, and if we're
Mm-hmm.
instructed to love our neighbors, you kind of got to do that.
and I think definitely do your research. I mean, I've had friends tell me, then they're a lesbian couple, and they're very religious. They love God. They're
Mm-hmm.
very strong in their faith, and they've gone to churches in Tampa that have been like, come and join this church. We would love to have you. And I do my own research, so I go behind the scenes, and I see what this church is about, and literally right there on their website will tell you they don't embrace homosexuality. They think it's a sin, and I think it's so strange to me that they try to like get our community to come in, and then try to, in a way, kind of divide them. So just really do your research if you are going to be joining a church. Just make sure that it is inclusive, make sure it is affirming, and make sure that they're doing the right things, because it could be really dangerous for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there are some questions, like 2 or 3 questions that you can ask if it isn't clear to you on a website. Maybe you can ask, would you marry a same-sex couple here in the sanctuary? Could a lesbian that's married to a woman be ordained
Mm-hmm.
and preach from your pulpit? So there are some questions because, like you said, Claire, some of the language that some of these non-affirming churches use can be deceiving. And I don't know if they mean to be deceiving or not. That really doesn't matter. The intent doesn't matter. It's the impact um, that matters. So yeah, I thank you for bringing that up. I think really be careful about what churches you attend and get
Mm-hmm.
hooked into, because sometimes you get connected before you even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out to be more of a conversion rather than compassion, and
Mhm.
that
Mm-hmm.
turns it into a con, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, your whole story started because of the church. What
Yes.
are your thoughts on this subject? How can we fix this narrative?
Well, first of all, I love what Liz and Claire both addressed. The
Oh
issue
yeah.
of affirming versus non-affirming is so important to ask. Just 2 simple questions: Will you do you allow for same-sex marriage, and do you honor the spiritual gifts of the gay community? If they dance around that or can't give you a yes, or it's really is a yes or no answer.
Yeah.
And I think where the biggest need that I've seen in this journey is that most people who are outside of the non-affirming church have no clue what's happening inside. And that's to say, when you have a young family come into a non-affirming church and raise their children, and then their child comes out and falls in love, they're suddenly ostracized from the church home of, 20 years or more. And
Yeah.
that's devastation. So what we need to do as allies or members of the community, unless you're called there to help this congregation along, or those in authority along in this dialogue, why would you give your tithe and your time and your energy to an organization that's harmful, dangerous, and quite possibly deadly to your child? So it's about raising awareness and educating people. And last thing on this is that Kathy Baldock, I can't say it any better than she did, but she says, we have been duped by scripture that's been misused, misunderstood, and what's the third one, Liz? Misused, misinterpreted, and misunderstood with sometimes the very best of intentions.
Well, I always go back to Jesus speaking of the eunuchs, and so many people miss that now because eunuchs isn't deemed as trans, but that's what it was. So if Jesus actually spoke on this, and then the church to demonize and say that it's an abomination is truly blasphemy, in my opinion. It's the height of hate.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
Me too.
It does me too. But what's so sad is I work with thousands of families, and many parents are doing what they believe is the right thing to do, the loving thing to do, because they don't have good information. And like Sara said, the key is really to us getting good information out there, educating people, and helping them understand what scripture really does and does not say. And not just that, but also get educated about sexuality and gender identity, because we're learning so much about these things that we didn't even know a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, I was honored to get the swag bag at the Mama Bears. And again, I screwed up, so I didn't get a chance to say, everybody needs this. I was going through this, and some of my straight cis friends and I have been talking, and they are watching their words. They are trying to figure out how to say things and honor the people without the knowledge. And I wish I had this book a week ago, because we were having this conversation with my high school best friend, and she was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, well, according to the show, I learned and was able to teach these things. But Liz, where can people get this?
You can go on Amazon right now, Mama Bear's glossary of LGBTQ plus terms. If you just search that, you'll find it. I think it's $9.95 or $9.99.
It is a breadth of knowledge, and
it has more than 100 terms in it with
amazing
definitions, and it has a whole list of non-binary terms that can be very helpful as we try to evolve in the way that we speak. Our language is so important. It really has an impact on other people, and also an impact, I think, on the way we actually think and behave.
Well, and that's a perfect segue to the next big topic, politics. I have we don't talk the small stuff here. So I have my Say Gay shirt on that I got at Wild Goose Festival, and I wear it proudly. And the language is key. Not only is saying gay trying to be termed illegal, but also slavery is going to be taken out of textbooks, or at least they're trying to.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's like, if we don't say it, it's not going to be real, and that's just insane to me. It's the epitome of turning a blind eye.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Our politics are where this control is coming from. Talk to us about how important and where we can play in this political spectrum to support these communities. Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I'll just say,
I'll let Liz go. Yeah.
I think all these laws and all the pushback that we're seeing politically and in the political arena has one main goal, and that's to make LGBTQ people go back in the closet They don't want LGBTQ people to be visible. They don't want to acknowledge their existence. They want to erase them. And if they can make them afraid to be out, to live authentically, to be themselves, then they've won the battle. Of course, everybody has to do what is best for themselves and safe for themselves. But those of us who are allies and advocates, we can get out there and stand between the community and these politicians and really make a difference. We can, I love what Stan Mitchell says. He says, if you're an ally to a group of people, you better be standing close enough to them to get hit by the rocks that are being thrown at them. And that's what we need to do as allies and advocates, show up, speak up, because ever since same-sex marriage became legalized, we've seen a pushback. And, it scares people when you go to set free a group of people that have been oppressed and marginalized for a long time. And that's what we're seeing here. People are afraid because we're setting a group of people free to be authentic, to live, to have equality and protection under the law.
Mm-hmm.
The bigots need to go back into the closet, no one else.
Yes.
And I also want to follow up on something that you said a little bit ago about how parents and people think that they're being loving when they are, caring for someone's afterlife and their soul and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think, with of course, there's an exception to every rule, and mental illness would play a factor, but almost never do you have parents think, oh my God, I'm going to totally screw up my kid. Let's do this.
Right.
I mean, parents always justify their actions. They say, I did this in the best of my knowledge. The point is to figure out where you're hurting someone, where you're doing this, as opposed to judging their soul and doing all of these things. I mean, and Sarah, I'm sure, you had that conversation with Parker, like, I love you. I want the best for you. And you finally came to the agreement that the best for him was to honor him.
Well, it was a journey for sure, but I really did think that my son was going to burn in hell for eternity. And I was frozen in that fear. And I didn't know where to turn for resources. I thought these were crazy thoughts in my head. And but it did take finding the support through Liz's group, finding the resources. I needed to hear from someone who shared my faith. It's okay to search the matter out, because guess what? When you search a matter out, you get educated on things like the history of human sexuality, science, and evidence, and hearing from gay Christians. And it all goes back to awareness and education. What I would have done to have been invited to this show, the Mama Bear documentary, when I was on that journey, it would have saved my family so much. I mean, I shamed my son with the very best of intentions. Now, as far as politics, I'm the least politically minded person you will ever meet. And it wasn't until I learned about laws that affect families like mine. In 29 states, Parker can be refused housing, health care. He can be refused public service in a public space because he's gay. I had no idea until I'm in my 40s that this was an issue, because it didn't mean anything to me until I had skin in the game. So I'm accountable to what I know now. And that's the Equality Act that we need to have passed. So it's awareness, education, and Claire, I'd love to hear your take on politics and your role, what you do.
So I'm a founder and executive director of
Yes.
a 501c3 nonprofit called Project No Labels, right? So we really can't get too politically involved, but we
about
have
20% there.
but it's somewhere between 10 and 20. But yeah, but we, instead of endorsing a candidate or something like that, what we do is we bring awareness to organizations that are fighting for equality.
Yes.
For example, and candidates that are fighting for equality. We can be really strategic in the way we present that. We can say,
Yes, I like
this governor believes this, or this governor candidate believes this, and this governor candidate believes this, and choose for yourself who you would vote for. So we just have to be really strategic when it comes to politics. But also, Florida is becoming a really dangerous grounds for LGBTQ plus individuals, more importantly for trans individuals.
Yes.
I believe in, I think we just shared something about this in Fort Lauderdale, and they're meeting about, you know, having kids detransition that are trans individuals that are, and figuring out how to detransition them, and taking away health care for
Yes.
trans individuals that have Medicaid. So these are really important services. These are their healthcare needs that are now they're being threatened, or they're going to be taken away if we don't do the right things, if we don't step up in the right spaces, if we don't have a seat at the table, if we don't encourage people to vote and get involved. So my take on politics is know your candidates, know what they're fighting for. Um, get out there, meet your community, and more importantly, get involved.
Hmm.
And just
And
like
I,
you said earlier, Claire, with the religion, do some research. Just because you've been aligned with a party for as long as you can remember doesn't mean that that party is still supporting the loved ones in your life or your
mhm.
friends or those types of things. Knowledge is key in these areas.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What
It
I love
still gets
about,
me.
oh,
Oh, I'm
go
so
ahead.
sorry, Sarah.
No, you go.
What gets me is it's hard to believe sometimes how much, in the LGBTQ plus community, within our own community, um, how many people don't support the trans community. And it just breaks my heart when I see, gay men, gay cis white men say something about, oh, well, there's no room for trans women in sports and things like that. And it's so heartbreaking because you can just tell it's just a lack of education,
Hmm.
and they, as ignorant as they sound, it's their opinion, but we need to do better as a community.
Yeah.
We do.
What?
But I do
Mhm.
think the hopeful side is that, we are doing a good job of getting good information out. I mean,
Hmm.
yes, there's a lot of work to do, but I was really pleased to see that in the recent polls, 71% of the nation, no matter what party they were affiliated with, 71% of the nation was in favor of keeping same-sex marriage legal across the nation. We do have a lot of work to do when it comes to the transgender community, but there are a lot of people working on that. And I know just in my Mama Bears private Facebook group with 34,000 moms of LGBTQ kids, I have seen these moms come along so much in the last 3, 4, 5 years learning about the transgender community. I posted something in the group this week just talking about how, there's some update on language. Like we at one time maybe said male to female. Now we say assigned male at birth instead. So I posted something about that. And the
Yep.
moms were just so grateful. Oh, thank you for updating us on this because we're creating a community where they want to show respect and compassion and care for those in the transgender community. So it really is exciting. And it's helping also that so many young people are coming out under the trans umbrella, non binary, gender
Queer.
Hmm.
non-conforming,
Hmm.
all those, gender queer and all those different kinds of identities. And a lot of people say, well, it's a trend. I think what the trend is we're encouraging young people to take the time to know themselves, to be authentic, it's okay to, explore and figure out what your identity is when you're young
Hmm.
and take your time and do that. And, so what's the harm if someone thinks they're non-binary today and next year they think no, I am transmasculine or whatever. I mean, we
Hmm.
just need to support people where they are at. And, that's what I see these Mama Bear communities and Free Mom Hugs communities doing. And Claire, I think you're probably seeing stuff like that among the people that you're working with.
Oh, all the time. And when I first got into this work, in 2014, I didn't know a single trans individual, and I probably did, and I just didn't know they were
Hmm.
trans.
Hmm.
So statistically, when I'm talking to the community and I'm talking to trans people in our community, they've told me that like only 10% of people really know someone that's trans. So if you
Hmm.
think about why there's not a lot of, talk about this, you don't really know that someone could be trans because a lot of them is what they call stealth, right? You
Mm-hmm.
don't know unless they feel comfortable enough to let you know that they are. And it's sometimes it's easier to tell with MTF, right? Male to female. But female to male, FTM is what they say now, and as the language to use for that, you would never know. You would never know.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
So it's
I've
Yeah,
talked.
actually, I just want to throw this in there. They're actually asking now for us to, I mean, this is kind of new, but they're asking us to drop FTM and MTF and instead use assigned male
AFAB and
at
AMAB.
birth. Yeah, AMAB and AFAB. Um, they feel like that doesn't focus so much on genitals.
Mhm.
Um, Instead of I was male and I've become female, it says I was assigned male, even though that was, wrong. So,
But even then,
whatever
I've
is making
seen,
the trans community feel better about the expression of
yeah.
themselves, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a question, Liz, on that, and I don't know the answer. I'm asking trans woman, trans male. Is that changed too, or is
They
that
prefer
acceptable?
trans woman or
That's
trans
what I meant.
man,
Okay.
instead of trans female or um, what was it that
Trans woman.
I don't know, but they do prefer trans woman and trans man, or
Okay.
just woman and man.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like a year or two ago, assigned male at birth and assigned female at birth was considered turf according to Twitter. So I think that I have a huge tolerance for ignorance, huge, because I have been ignorant so much in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I tell my straight cis friends is it's okay to not know, but you have to still honor them. You ask the questions. And without this show, I wouldn't. I mean, I've told the story before about situations that I've been in that were awkward, that I wanted to honor that person and I didn't know how. And I was afraid
Mm-hmm.
to ask the question. I was afraid, what are your preferred pronouns? How, how can I honor you? How can I do this? I think that we need to accept our ignorance in these areas and continue to roll with the flow and to say, what can we do to honor you, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be
Right.
stuck in terms, I mean, Claire's thing is Project No Labels. And I've gone to her and said, okay, people are saying they want labels. How does this work? So I think if we stay in just an honor thing, right, that would help.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so
as allies too. I mean, we have to, stay humble and teachable.
Yeah.
We can't get
Yeah.
offended when people correct us. I get corrected all the time. Usually something I'm sharing in the group is something I did wrong. Somebody corrected me and helped me know the right way. So now I'm sharing it with the community.
Yeah.
and with the
Mm-hmm.
language consistently evolving, like Liz said, it's definitely important. Before people would say transgendered, things like that, and now you don't say that. You say transgender. So with things constantly evolving, and I bring up MTF and FTM is because I see my trans friends still using those terminologies. Um, I don't know that that's news to me, Liz, about that we're kind of shying away from that. And so that's something that I learned just by being in this show with you all. And it's not something that I feel I'm not offended, because you know what? At the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
sure we're inclusive as
Exactly.
a community and we make people feel included. Um,
Yeah.
Now, I kind of lost my train of thought on this, but
But
uh,
Claire, we of course, like you say, we would never correct a trans person.
right.
Um, if that's what a trans person wants to use, then yes, we respect that. Um,
Absolutely.
and a
Oh,
lot of this I'm learning in groups that are run by transgender people who are kind of like movers and shakers and thinkers and kind of on the front lines and maybe at the edge of evolving us in our thinking and behaving. So I can remember when people started using the term queer, but I still had a lot of older
It's still hard for
friends who
me.
were of the community and would not want that word to
It
be
used
used.
to
So
be such a bad
it
word.
is a constant. It used to be a horrible word.
Yeah.
Yes,
there are still a lot of the older generation that do not like it. And
Yeah.
it's something that it was traumatizing for them,
exactly.
Yeah.
when they were first coming out or where they were in the closet. And nowadays, I think it was statistically, I think it's like 30% or maybe even higher, like 50% of the kids are identifying as queer now.
Yeah.
So it's just a beautiful thing to see. And as far as Project No Labels, it's about, for us, it's about embracing your authenticity. It's not about putting yourself in a box. We love our identities and how we identify. Um, Not identify, because we're also steering away from I identify as, by the way. So
Okay. Okay.
just in general. So we have an appreciation for people's identity, gender identity, and their sexual orientations. However, it's we're not for putting people in boxes and just, oh, you're a lesbian, that's it, that's who you are. There's so
Hmm.
many more aspect to a human being than their gender identity and their sexuality.
Well, if someone said to me, "Oh, you're just a woman," I'd be pretty pissed too. You know?
Yeah, I love that. And we need words to understand ourselves and other people. But like
Hmm.
you said, Claire, where it goes awry is when we try to box people in. You could take a lot of terms. I mean, you could take the term pansexual, and it's understood differently by different people. Someone may sometimes bisexual is understood differently by a different person. So I think, we accept what people tell us about themselves. And, if we're, blessed to be trusted with more details, then that's wonderful and great. But otherwise, we, just want to encourage people to be their authentic selves
Hmm.
and to live wholeheartedly into the people they were created to be. That is, as a woman of faith, I say that is the best way to honor God, is to live
Yeah.
wholeheartedly into the person you were created to be, and keep
Hmm.
striving to be the best version of your true self.
Hmm. I would like to add that this is one thing of many that I love about Liz is the book that she just recently put out with the acronym that sounded so foreign when I was first learning about the acronym. And I was late in life learning that there was a gender identity and sexual orientation. I had no idea. I mean, I just thought it was one or the other, right? But what I love about the book is that as someone is on their journey of self discovery, it allows the vocabulary. Like you can
Yeah.
look at a description in that book and say, that's how I feel. And that may evolve, but it gives the no matter how old you are. I like someone said, whether you're 7 or 77, allow people to show you who they are and believe them. And it's a journey. And the last thing is that Claire reminded me of is that, oh my God, it just went out one end and in the other. Let's see.
It's a brain
Oh,
fart.
maybe it was Kai Shapley's mother. She said, part of loving someone is asking them what they need to feel your love
Mm.
Yeah.
and allow them, in a matter of words, she said that, but and allow them to show you what they need to feel your love. What do you need to know that I love you? And then you do those things.
Well, and it's an override of our instincts, right? Because we have this ancient part of our brains that we need to establish and put someone in a box so we
Yeah.
know whether they're friend or foe.
Yeah. I don't assume anything with gender
Yeah,
identity or sexual
yeah, you
orientation.
can't anymore. You have to
Mm-mm.
override it. And I've talked before about, like you almost get a brain cramp to go, what is this person? And that we need to
Yep.
focus on who this person
Mm-hmm.
is.
Yeah.
I have also mentioned several times that I have been mistaken as trans. And I saw it on Friday night among all the trans people. I'm standing eye to eye with them in my 3-inch boots. I'm 6'2", 6'3", and I saw a lot of people going, like, is she trans? The difference between that group and others is that they rectified it. They reconciled it far more quickly. It was, is she trans? I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Other
Yeah.
people continue to pursue that, think it's their business, think that they need that understanding, and not accept their ignorance, not accept their not knowing, and and accept that it's none of their business is what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try not to assume anything, but I just want to tell this story real quick, and then I'm sure you might want to talk about other things. But the first time that I'm aware of that I met a transgender person, I went to a PFLAG meeting that I thought was for high schoolers or families like mine, and it turned out to be for the adult transgender community.
Hmm.
And to my knowledge, that was the first time I'd been in the same room with a transgender person that I know of. But do you know what? Once I got to know the community, of course, I just fell in love, these beautiful, misunderstood people. But guess what? I started seeing transgender people everywhere. Like, I felt like I was a magnet because I would see a transgender friend at the bus stop or in the grocery store or at the department, you know? Once I was aware of it, and again, I don't assume anything, but sometimes you just know, okay? But it gave me a whole new appreciation, a whole new lens to see people, and it really is a beautiful thing to
It's
be able to
okay to
see that.
not know. It really
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
I think one of the most beautiful thing to witness is somebody just embracing who they are and just
Yeah.
thriving and being who they are. And I have so many trans friends that struggle every single day, and they still, put on that brave face and still are loud about who they are, and it's just so beautiful to see.
Mhm.
And some of them are thriving. I mean, I'm good friends with, Nathan Broomer, who is out and proud, and one of my mentors, and one of gonna be a lifelong friend of mine, and he's the LGBTQ plus liaison for Nikki Fried right now for the state of Florida.
Yes.
And,
Nice.
he's proud, embracing who he is, and thriving, just, and then, he's kind of a rare breed to be able to take on that workload and, be a part of Equality Florida and be a part of, was the president of St. Pete Pride. And, I'm good friends with Ashley Brundage, who it has, uh, a book and now doing like tours around the globe, being
Mhm.
who she is. And so I just I can't wait to see the trans community really step into their power. I really think they're going to be some of the most incredible people that we'll meet in our lifetime.
Mhm.
I
In the
agree.
film,
And
go
oh,
ahead, Liz.
They're magic.
yes, they are.
Mhm.
They are beautiful, and I love the diversity that we're getting to see up close and personal. And I just want to throw this out there. I think one thing that really helps, not just trans people, but all members of the LGBTQ community to remain strong and empowered, and keep striving to be authentic and true to themselves, is if they have supportive community around them.
Yes. Yes.
People that care about them, that will lift them up, that will be there for them, remind them they aren't alone. And I just want to throw this out there that one of the things that my organization has is Mama Bears to the Rescue. And if you go to our website, realmamabears.org, you'll find that program. And it's a pretty simple organic program. We just will connect any LGBTQ person that needs support and encouragement with
Mhm.
Mama Bears. These are moms who have LGBTQ kids. They're 100% affirming, and they want to share their love and their encouragement with people outside of their family. They want to
Mhm.
be a loving presence in the life of LGBTQ people. So if anybody's listening and you're a member of the community and you want to connect with Mama Bears, or if you know someone who does, we have thousands of moms who are biting at the bit to be your friend, to send you a card, to send you a gift in the mail, to talk on the phone with you, to have you over to their house, to meet you for lunch. I mean, these moms are amazing. They get up every day wanting to know what can they do to support the LGBTQ community.
It's true. It's true. And one thing that you remind me of, Claire, is that in the movie, the Mama Bear documentary, Kimberly talks about Kai at one point, saying that Kai identifies as a transgender girl. She's very out and proud. And
Mhm.
I think that confidence, that clarity of who she is, will just change the world around her. I mean, that confidence to have the support, and it's just a beautiful thing. You're right, Claire. It's a beautiful thing to see. It is magic for sure.
One of the things that this show has really taught me is that everyone is in need of accepting themselves. Everyone wants to love themselves and has to accept themselves and to grow into what they are. The difference with the LGBTQ community is that they can't do it in the privacy like straight people do. They can't do it and to grow into their own if they don't have support. So while every one of us struggle in being who we are and in accepting who we are, we must realize how hard it is for us and how much harder it is for them because society doesn't accept them, because they're already ostracized for who they are. I am a woman in the church, and so I'm technically ostracized too, but on a much smaller scale. The LGBTQ community often can't even leave their houses feeling safe. So all of you out there who are listening and trying to be empathetic towards this community, realize how hard it was for you just to come into your own, and then empathize with how hard it is for them. Okay, anything more on that before we move on to your money? How can we support the LGBTQ community with money?
Can I talk about love just for a minute? That was the last topic, but
No,
what I
we can
found,
go there. We can go there instead of money.
just
That is perfectly
something
fine.
something that I've learned is that I have a very dear friend, and she has been with Free Mom Hugs since the get go, and she's part of the community, and she helped answering all the emails when we went viral. And
Mm.
she shares the story, so it's not like I'm, talking about her without her, but she talks about the coming out late in life and having the internalized homophobia.
Mm.
And she met the love of her life, and through the process of seeing the emails, the outpouring of love, groups like Liz, the Mama Bears to the Rescue, showing such love and acceptance, it's healing, it's empowering, and it's lasting. And to be able to see, I mean, I just gave myself chills because I saw my dear friend go from internalized homophobia to meeting the love of their life, and then being able to show a public display of affection, just holding hands, seeing things like that. But it's love, it's a support, it's acceptance, whether it's in the form of a card, a phone call, a text. It's just love, and it's a public display of affection of the very best kind. And I've seen it, and I know it to be true. Now, about that money.
Yeah, I wanted to end on love because I think that is the most important.
Oh, I
So
saw the sign,
let's go
love.
back. I just dropped in the love because Liz has been the queen of segues so far tonight. So
I saw the
when she
title
went there, I'm
love.
like, let's go ahead and do that.
I thought we were on love, and then we were going to money.
Yeah,
So that's
no,
why
again,
I
I was premature.
I do wanna I do want to add on to that. When we talk about your love, right? I think it's important to show up in spaces as well outside of the LGBTQ plus community. I think that our strength really comes in our intersectionalities. So I think, showing up in these spaces where it's not necessarily the LGBTQ plus movement,
Mm-hmm.
because when we need folks to show up to support our movement, guess what? We're going to find that community. So the strength really comes in numbers. So definitely, get to know the community outside of the LGBTQ plus community. For example, we get involved with Black Lives Matter. We get involved with the women's rights movement. We get involved with a bunch of different things because it doesn't, like I said, it's not. It's one thing. The LGBTQ plus community is huge, right? But our power together when we start really showing up for one another and meeting people where they're at, that's really where our strength comes in, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's in numbers.
Yeah,
So that's the
yeah,
love
that
that I'd like to see.
intersectionality. Yeah, that intersectionality is really, you're absolutely right, Claire. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's where we really find so much power and the ability to, really affect so much change. And it all works together. I mean, we just started a new subgroup for the Mama Bears big national group called Mama Bears of Color, um, because these moms and their families are facing some different kinds of situations and challenges that maybe others in the community are not. And so, yeah, touching on that intersectionality is just so important. And honestly, I will say this, that um, becoming an advocate for the LGBTQ community has helped me um, learn about all different groups of people, and to be passionate about equality and protections and privilege, and equity, and all those great things for everybody. Nobody's free until we're all free. So yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up.
That's right.
I got a shirt at Wild Goose from Tim Kerr, and it said, Jesus, make me a stone catcher. And I was really apprehensive about it at first because Christianity has so much baggage right now, and I'm a walking billboard. So I wanted to make sure that I am appropriating the right message. And it has been resonating with me. And you touched on it earlier, Liz, about how in saying, Jesus, make me the stone catcher, it is literally putting ourselves there to catch the stones that are being thrown by the public and protecting our neighbors. And it's just totally resonated with me. And like, I never looked at it that way. I've been doing that. That is my goal. But to stand in front and is to be the ally. To protect is to be the ally. To do those types of things, to love our neighbor is the goal. Jesus, make me a stone catcher.
I love that.
Yeah, right? Okay, anything else on love? Support, community, all of it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get to the money, because this is how we can really inflict change, right? Your money matters. Support LGBTQ businesses. Don't support organizations that are anti-LGBTQ. Those are good starts, right?
Yeah, and I'm a little different from let's see, Sherry, do you have a nonprofit? Is that what your organization is?
I told Sara the story about this on Friday. It's a little bit complicated. Not yet.
Okay. Well, I don't have a nonprofit.
Yeah.
We decided to go a little different route. We operate the Mama Bears organization. Real Mama Bears is LLC. It's a sole proprietorship. A lot of the work we're doing is very involved with politics, and this frees us up to do that. Of course, we have to pay a lot of taxes, but it's a good trade-off for my organization. But I love to help nonprofits that are supporting the LGBTQ community. So earlier this year, I partnered with a nonprofit called Legacy Collective. It was founded and managed by Jen Hatmaker, if you know who she is. And what we developed together is called the Mama Bears Giving Circle. And what we do is we award grants to nonprofits that support the LGBTQ community. And it's a real win-win situation because we allow members who are monthly givers to nominate and vote on the nonprofits that receive our grants.
Nice.
We do all the vetting, so our members don't have to worry about, is this nonprofit really doing the work they say they're doing and managing their funds in, a responsible and credible way. And it helps the nonprofits because they don't have to spend that much time and money and effort to fundraise for those. And we're getting ready to give our first round of grants on October 1 to the Trevor Project, Gender Spectrum, Glisten, and the Tyler Clementi Foundation. And they're all going to be in excess of $15,000 each. So we're really excited about it.
Congratulations.
So there's one easy way to give your money and support the LGBTQ community.
I love that.
I do
and
too.
I just have to say, Free Mom Hugs is on the list to receive one of our grants in the second round that will be given out next year. So we're excited about that.
Well, thank you, Liz. And I think it's a great project, whether we're a recipient or not, because it really helps people. People want to do something. And if you aren't in the position to have an LLC or have a nonprofit, or if you're not at the front of the line, then by God, we need to help people who are doing the work. And some, like I always say, if you can pray for us, pray. If you can show up, show up. If you can give, give, because we need all of those things to do what we're doing. And there's so much to be done. But I think, like Claire and Liz, I mean, evident that this is, I don't want to say consuming, but you've just poured so much of yourself into this. And it is really is a labor of love. Like, I don't ever get tired of sharing a story or finding out about things that affect our families and learning more what we can do for the community, because Liz says it starts at home. If we can change, bring awareness and educate to moms. Moms learn from other moms. And I don't know, I could go on, but I'm just thrilled to be a part of this group. And I am very hopeful, and I am very, very excited about the future, because I know we're on the right side of history.
Yes.
And we're doing a very good thing. So forge
Claire,
ahead.
how can people use their money to support the LGBTQ community?
Definitely donate to LGBTQ plus nonprofit. Definitely do your due diligence. So I'd be remiss if I didn't plug Project No Labels. And so right now we're really focused on the mental health program. So we started that in
Yes.
January of 2020. We started with one mental health counselor. We've now grown to five. Excuse me, we've now grown to five. And since we began, we've up to today, we're actually up to beginning of 2022, we've provided what 2,500 sessions, and in
Wow.
2022 alone, we're going to exceed just in this 1 year about 3,000 sessions.
So awesome.
Now, that is providing um, high quality, low cost, like you said, no insurance, no pre-qualifications, LGBTQ plus friendly, just inclusive in general. 45-minute mental health therapy sessions to people in Florida. So it's available via telehealth in the state of Florida, statewide. It's available in person in St. Pete. We're looking to try to expand that in different areas of Florida, especially ones where there's not a lot of resources. But again, funding is a huge, huge aspect of that. Um, in any nonprofit dream, I think it's smart that you went the LLC route, because it does free up the money for you to do a lot more. We've got a lot of red tape and things we have to worry about when we do nonprofit work, but it's hard. We would love to just have the money come in and be able to focus on our work, but unfortunately, that's not how it works with a nonprofit. We have to focus on fundraising. We have to continue to bring the funds in, because out of all those sessions, 30% of those sessions are subsidized by P&L. So if someone cannot afford a therapy session, we pay up to 3 free sessions for them to help get them going. And then it's pay what you can as you go. And with 30% of those sessions that I just mentioned being subsidized sessions, it shows you that there's a huge need in the community for these type of programs, that people want to get the help. It's just that they can't afford it. So hopefully we can, keep that going and be able to expand.
True.
Right now, we're capping it at 5 therapists, because our partners at Cypress Wellness Center, um, this type of program costs a lot of money. Right now, we can even help youth, so it doesn't even, not just adults. We're able to take in kids, as long as obviously parental consent. And then we have, a trans non-binary therapist, which is hard to
Excellent.
find. So just we're trying to be as diverse as possible as well.
Claire, we need to
Excellent.
get you nominated. We need to get your
Yes.
organization
Yes, we
nominated
do.
to
Yes,
receive
we
one of
do.
the
Oh my God,
Mama
that
Bear
would be
Giving Circle
awesome.
grants.
Absolutely.
So let's get in touch after this, okay?
Absolutely. Thank
Definitely.
you.
That's
That would
great.
be awesome. Okay, so don't eat at Chick-fil-A. Don't shop at Hobby Lobby. Check where you're spending your money. If you're donating, donate it to LGBTQ communities and charities. Visit and patronize the LGBTQ community businesses. Um,
Yes.
Anything else?
I would say that if you are a person of faith and in a place of worship, to find an affirming place of worship where you are. Online, there's tons of wonderful places, but support those churches. They have a lot of work to do. They're doing wonderful things. And the thing that I heard the most from the community when I first got involved is that they have lost their sense of belonging when they've been alienated from their church family. So find an affirming church, promote those places. And if you go to church, then give your tithe and your time and your energy into a place that has a lot of work to do, and be
Yeah,
that loving presence.
and you
Yeah.
reminded me too, Wild Goose. I mean, something like Wild
Oh
Goose
yeah.
is a
Yeah.
great place to give that, their themes
Yes.
are art, faith, and music, but they're completely inclusive of LGBTQ community, and the LGBTQ community, Christian LGBTQ people are very connected to Wild Goose and that festival and that organization, because they have really gone out of their way to really support LGBTQ Christians and
Hmm.
give them that sense of belonging.
Yeah. Could they be nominated? Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's
Wild
nominated.
Goose is a wonderful organization. It's social justice, art, music, and it's just a
If you don't know
wellspring.
what we're talking about, I did a Wild Goose recap show last week.
Oh, good. Good.
So if anybody out there doesn't know what we're talking about, go watch that
Hmm.
and plan on attending next year.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I'll
phenomenal.
have to plug Free Mom Hugs. I know you'll probably put the link
Well,
there.
let's go ahead and do that. We are at the top of the hour.
Okay.
So,
Um,
Liz, I'm going to do you first because
Go.
you are in the top corner.
Do it.
Any final words, and where can people find you?
Well, go to realmamabears.org. You can see the website listed there on the screen, and there you'll find everything about our organization. I think we have 9 private groups now. We have more than 60 chapters for moms of LGBTQ kids that are spread across the United States, the UK, Australia, and Canada. These chapters make it easier for our moms of LGBTQ kids to connect with one another. Sometimes they get together just for fun. Sometimes they get together and do advocacy work or go to a pride parade and give out hugs inspired by, Sarah's movement. And then, some things to point out on the website is you will find the Mama Bears Giving Circle there. You can also become a monthly donor to the Real Mama Bears organization. Even though we're not a nonprofit and your gift would not be tax deductible, our organization actually exists mostly on financial gifts that our members and LGBTQ allies give to our organization, so we can keep doing it. We also started a new program earlier this year called Mama Bear Safer Schools program. And if you have kids who are LGBTQ and they're students, our program is a little bit different. What we do is it's not curriculum that schools, will use. What we do is we empower parents to become effective advocates for their
Nice.
LGBTQ students. We teach them what to look for, what schools should be doing,
Hmm.
and how to go in and build friendly relationships with teachers and school administrators, because we have found that schools are changed mostly through parental involvement. So
Yeah.
anyway, we have a lot to offer there. We're doing a lot of great things. I'm really excited about, and none of it would happen if it wasn't for these parents of LGBTQ kids who are passionate about changing the world into a kinder, safer, more loving place for all LGBTQ people to live.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all
Totally
the work
agree.
you do, Liz. You
Yes.
are
Yes.
phenomenal. Okay,
Yeah.
Claire, your turn. Final
Uh,
words, and where can people find
yes.
you?
Absolutely. Projectnolabels.org. You can contact us there. You can donate there. You can get more information about the organization there as well. If you want to follow the events and activities, because we do stay fairly active in the community in Tampa Bay. Facebook and Instagram is really where we're, doing our social media right now. It's hard to manage social media, by the way. If you've ever done it, it's a lot of
Liz
work.
is a master. She could probably give you some pointers.
I am dreading starting TikTok. Let's just put it that way. But I know we need to get in there. We need to get in that
Yeah,
space.
Oh,
me too.
But we did a lot of events and activities from 2017 up to 2020 when COVID hit. So primarily that's what we did, events and activities all over the community. We volunteered everywhere. We did family friendly events. We did big social events called Prom in Wonderland, where we would have
Oh,
300 to
that's great.
500 people that would show up and be able to create a prom for LGBTQ plus individuals that never had the opportunity to
Oh,
go,
I love that.
or they went with people that they didn't really want to necessarily go with when
They need
during
a
that
redo,
time, a
a
redo.
redo.
A
Yeah, so
redo.
that
Yeah.
popped off really well. We're really focused on the mental health program right now and really being able to raise the funds to do that, and to be able to sustain it. It's thank goodness it's to a point where it's somewhat sustainable, but we've got a lot of work to do there. But we are going to get started doing events and activities again. So, I mean, we've
Nice.
participated and created hundreds of events since inception. So we're going to get ready and start doing that again. So if you want to get involved in the Tampa Bay area, you can fill out a volunteer application on projectnolabels.org. There's an application there. Or follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll post the things that we do around the community. Again, we're very much involved with social justice movements and bridging our community together, not just the LGBTQ plus community. So
The entire PNL team is boss. They really are. I was so glad to meet all of them.
That's awesome.
Okay, and last but definitely not
Oh,
least, Sarah. What? Any final words, and where can people find you?
yes. First of all, I just want to thank you. I'm so glad to be connected
Yes.
and just doing this work together. And if you are listening and want more information about Free Mom Hugs, of course, go to freemomhugs.org. You can find your state chapter. If you go and get plugged in, that'll keep you updated on all the things happening locally. We learned a lot through COVID. So, what I love about that is that we're able to do a lot in times of COVID and like I want to say through virtual and in public now as we're getting out there. So we're prepared either way, is what I'm saying. And we also have representation in Australia. We are working to get to Canada, Liz. We're going to get there this year,
Good.
maybe early next. And but we're working on care packages, national pride rides, transgender Valentine's banquets. We have chapters in every state. Moms, dads, friends, and allies just pouring into the community and seeing the need, and just trying to be that loving presence is the goal there. But I couldn't be more pleased with our chapter leaders and our volunteers, just being that loving presence. And that looks different in Kentucky than it does in California. So we're doing the work.
Indeed. Well, I think this was an absolute phenomenal show.
Yeah,
And thank
yeah.
you so much for coming on, being vulnerable, and sharing your advice and stories. I absolutely love it. I'm
Well,
going to send, oh, go ahead.
well, we need to turn this around, not today necessarily, but turn this around because I want to know your story. You know all of ours now, so we need to
That's my
come up with some
superpower.
questions for you. Yeah.
I'm the host. That's my superpower.
Maybe turn that around.
well, thank you
Yeah.
for having us as well.
I'm
Yeah.
just going to send you guys backstage. I will talk to you as soon as I close out the show. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you. It
Thank
was an
you.
honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I love this show. As I say every week, it buoys me. It keeps me floating. And I really hope that you guys learned something today and found a creative or regular way to support your LGBTQ neighbors and to love them. I hope that we were able to give you some information and to assure you that walking in love is walking with God. So you know the drill. I will see you next week. Next week's show is going to be another big one. We've actually got the survivors of conversion therapy on. So tune in then. And no matter what you do, make sure that you walk in love.